Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Brew for Business. We're on here a few minutes late, so if you're hanging out, you're going to tune in. We really appreciate that. It has been a beautiful morning so far. We are currently at Feel Love Coffee Shop, downtown Loveland, and it's super cute. It's very like antique vintage style, like chandeliers everywhere, and it's a great place. If there are a lot of spaces, so if you're a remote worker, like perfect spot to come work from. There's a lot of people here too, and they have really good food and good coffee. And I am super excited to introduce you guys today to my guest, Kat Phoenix, and I can't wait for you guys to learn about her and what she does. And yeah, let's get started. So without further ado, I asked for a big cup, so don't judge my cup.
I got the mini cup.
Cheers to an awesome episode.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention too. So we're talking to the camera. So
okay.
Even though it's tempting, sometimes we look at each other.
Right. Yes.
We want to
will
make
talk
sure
to each other through the camera.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
So all of our guests feel included.
Exactly. Right. And so, Kat, where are you originally from?
So I grew up in California.
Awesome.
I'm kind of from everywhere. I was born in Utah. I grew up in California, in Southern California, Orange County. And yeah, so that was interesting. I grew up in like the best weather, probably took it totally for granted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I then, when I was about 21, I decided I needed a change, had some things happen in my life, and thought, you know what, I'm going to try the East Coast. So I moved there, and I lived in North Jersey.
One end to the other.
Yep. And then I went from like, because I thought, you know, I need to experience the snow. Like, I feel like I'm missing out. And by my third winter, I said, oh,
too much snow.
Too much snow. Too cold.
Yeah.
I can't do this. Okay. But I lived there for another 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
so you stuck with it?
Yep. I stuck with it. I raised my daughter there. Oh, she was born there.
How old is she?
She is going to be 22 this August. Yeah.
My son just turned, well, I guess he'll be 22 in October.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my God. So you had a
I just realized it's closer.
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I realized it's closer to his next year than it is to his previous one.
I know. Once I said to her the other day, I was like, oh, you're 22. She's like, I'm 21, Mom. I was like, well, 22 is right on the horizon.
My dad, you know, it continues. My dad still does that. I'm like in my early 40s and he's like, oh, you're 50. And I'm like, hold on, sir.
Right?
We've got a few more years to go before we go through that route.
Yeah.
So we're going to circle back to a lot of the things that you mentioned, but so Southern California, I lived briefly in San Diego.
Oh, nice.
So
beautiful.
I totally experienced that like perfect weather.
So
like
nice.
You can go outside any time of the year. In the shade, a little chilly, but in the sun, like perfect.
Yeah. Like pretty much didn't really use an air conditioner. Like where I grew up, we had one in the living room that we hardly turned on. So, and a huge switch, like the climate from being more like dry to the East Coast being super humid and, you know, frizzy hair and all that.
Yeah.
But I actually enjoy the humid climate more. So.
Do you?
Yeah. So.
Except for the snow.
Yeah, I hate the snow. I hate the cold. So like from Memorial Day to Labor Day is my time to go to the beach and, you know, be outside. But then, yeah, the seasonal depression is real there. And that was something I hadn't really experienced until living there for so long. So now I try to like chase the sun throughout the whole year. So Colorado is actually a nice,
so perfect in between.
Yeah, like this
you
winter,
get the snow and then you get the sunlight all the time.
And this winter was like 80 degrees in February. It was crazy. So
yeah, it's been crazy. So I've been here since March. And I think we've experienced every season in the last like 2 months where one day it's snowing and then 2 days later it's 80 degrees and I'm in shorts and like sandals.
I know, it's so great.
Yeah, I love it. So what did you do when you were out in New Jersey?
So in California, I went to graphic design school after I graduated from high school. And so I did that for about 5 years. I did freelancing, mostly worked with different independent. I worked with a multi-level marketing company, the reps with that. So I did like a lot of like newsletter stuff and just like helping them, you know, with marketing for their business. And then
It's
I
like a
had
workout.
right, right. That is a huge step.
Sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to
you're
interrupt
good.
you.
And then I had my daughter, so I was home with her for a few years, which was great. And then I went back to work. I did a little bit of everything. I did recruiting for a while. I was in sales. I was a makeup artist. I did insurance. I did a whole bunch of things. So kind of always wasn't kind of quite sure what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I tried everything.
I get that. I get that. I've always wanted to do that. Like I get asked. I was asked multiple times. You meet with a recruiter and they're like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm good at people. Like I can kind of fit wherever." And then I, created my own thing.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So far, so good. 8 years later, it's working out.
That's amazing. Cheers to that, because that's not easy to do.
You're right. Yes,
So.
definitely. So of all the things that you have done, what is the thing that you most enjoyed?
Well, it's what I do now. So coaching, I love doing that. I got into coaching about, I want to say like 2021. After COVID, I was in the restaurant industry before that. Mm-hmm. I was going to school, and then COVID kind of put a stop to everything. So
yeah. The worst industry for that at that time.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But it was great because I was ending up, finding what I really wanted. And, I've been through like a lot in my life. I have the chronic illness, which we'll talk about, some mental health issues, and really had a hard time like finding what I really wanted to do and just like feeling okay with myself. So one thing that really helped me was I found plant medicine. And so that was like a huge experience for me that kind of helped me break through the barrier of like what I thought I was versus what I really felt like my purpose was in life. Yeah. So after that, I got a certificate in integration coaching, specific for like psychedelic integration, but kind of wasn't really, while I found like a lot of healing in that, I realized it's not for everyone. And now with more on the chronic illness side, I feel like that's just like my more experience of where I'm living and where I have been living and where I really want to help other people.
Yeah. What made you move to Colorado?
So after my daughter graduated,
yes.
You know how it is being a young mama, and you were like, all right, I missed out on my 20s, on my 30s, and now I'm in my early 40s.
Right, and we're still young. It's just enough time to explore all of the things.
Exactly. Yes. And I was like, all right, as soon as you graduate and you're, off on your life, which she's like super independent.
Awesome.
So she was like ready. She went to cosmetology school. She's been working, so she's doing great. And my partner and I at the time decided that we wanted to move to North Carolina and buy land. Well, we wanted to buy land, and that was kind of where we settled on. So sold everything, jumped in the car and went to North Carolina and bought a piece of land, thinking, oh, we're going to do this homestead thing. We're going to be self-sufficient. We're going to have an intentional community, like all these big dreams without enough experience or money to fund it. So yeah, so we tried to do that.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, he has a background in like farming and construction, like all the things, but it just needed way more than we had at the time. And so we ended up traveling for about 2 years all around the country. So we went from North Carolina to Florida to Northern California to Southern California, stayed there for a little while, kind of where I'd grown up. Hung out with friends I hadn't seen in forever.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then we just traveled like back and forth across the country, kind of trying to figure out where we wanted to land. And we ended up here.
I love it. So did you guys travel by RV or?
No, our car. And then we would camp at like campsites. We spent a month in the Keys camping between Bahia Honda and Curry Hammock.
Such a popular spot. Yeah.
It was the most amazing. It was like December to February.
That's the one surrounded by water, right? Like you can see the water on both sides.
Yeah. And so that was such a magical time. And I love the Keys. The Keys is like a whole nother world as, being in Florida.
Really is.
But so we ended up here, had some friends here. And it's been a really, the winter kind of is slow here. So like we moved here right before the winter time. And so like finding work was a little difficult for him, but now he has a job, so it's great. Nice. And, we've been kind of doing gig work which has been great, and like appreciate the opportunity that has with it. But yeah, I started putting myself out there online about a year ago, and then had some health things happen the last 6 months, and so kind of revamped what I was offering. And now, I'm really excited to see, share with other people and connect and see how I can help.
That's amazing. Have you noticed a difference? You said, you've battled with chronic illness for a while. Is it something that has been made better or worse by like Colorado?
Well,
I've heard some things of,
And what have you heard?
Well,
I'm interested.
so interestingly enough, we just went to, there's a famous hotel, Stanley Hotel down in Estes Park.
Oh, okay.
And we went to take a tour of the hotel. And the story of it was that a gentleman, F.E. or F.O. Schwartz, Stanley Schwartz, Stanley, that he was battling, I think, tuberculosis, right, in the 1900s. And the doctors basically said, hey, you've only got so much time to live. Like, you should go to Colorado, like Colorado air, like the altitude and stuff like that, the fresh air. He started in Denver, and then he had a friend that had a cabin in Estes Park, and told him, like, basically at that point, they were like, hey, just come live out your life. It's beautiful here. You're just enjoy it while you still can, imagining that he was going to pass away soon. And then him living in Estes Park, like, cleared all his symptoms within like a few months. And he ended up moving there and building a hotel, and then the history like behind the hotel and stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
So
powerful.
Apparently Colorado air is
good for your lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spending the winter here. So the challenging thing, so what I specifically deal with is rheumatoid arthritis. And it's an autoimmune condition that affects more than just your joints. So when people hear arthritis, they think, oh yeah, I have arthritis too. And it's a very different type of arthritis. It is where the immune system sees the synovial fluid, which is the fluid that lubricates the joints, as an invader. So it attacks the fluid. So it's a lot of swelling. It can cause joint damage when left, when inflamed for a long time. It is a degenerative joint disease, and it can also affect other organs, your eyes, your lungs, cardiovascular system. So it's now with the way that medicine had been in the last 10 years, there's been a lot more like lower mortality rates. But like when I found out 11 years ago that I had it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I mean, I went on Google, less than really like 1% of the population had it. Still, really, it's like a rare autoimmune condition.
Yeah.
They're not really sure exactly what causes it.
I was just going to say, is it genetic or hereditary?
Genetics a very small component. They're not sure it can be, a link between gut health, environmental stress, nervous system dysregulation. So a whole bunch of things. Science doesn't really know the exact cause because it's like multifaceted. In my own lived experience, for me, I really think that the nervous system had a huge impact on that. So when the nervous system is dysregulated, stuck in fight or flight mode, hypervigilance, which can be from prolonged stress, from trauma, from growing up and not feeling safe, all of these kinds of things. So when it's always stuck in overdrive, the nervous system, I believe, the immune system can then mirror the nervous system and be stuck in overdrive. So every little thing is an invader. The synovial fluid, if I, walk too long, if I try to work out, it's like my body feels like it's under attack.
Yeah.
So it's trying to overcompensate with that inflammation.
And so you were diagnosed with this 11 years ago. And how much information, like resources and stuff, was available to you, or how much did you like figure out?
So I am a research junkie. Like I am the person who is looking for every, thing I can find about it.
Yeah.
And at the time there wasn't a lot, and it was all very not promising, like not positive. Basically it said, that RA has a 40 to 60% mortality rate for, it's high, based on complications. So and that people have, like a 40% higher cardiovascular risk and all these other things, and that, it can shorten your lifespan by 6 to 10 years. Now that since 2021, that number has come up to about 5 years. So because of the advancements with medication, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I really was all about natural. I had grown up in I didn't really go to the doctor that often. I didn't like antibiotics.
Yeah.
I was real big into alternative medicine and alternative holistic healing. So when I was first diagnosed, I told my doctor, okay, I don't want to do meds. They're toxic. I read about them. They're terrible. They cause this, and this.
Right. Might fix the one problem and
exactly.
cost 10 more.
Exactly. And I think everyone has that, feeling about medication in some degree, because we hear the scary side effects that are on every commercial.
Yeah, right.
And
the last minute is them like reading through all of the potential.
Yeah. And that is true, but compared to what the disease does on its own, that's even scarier. And so for a long time, when I first got diagnosed, I was like, I'm doing it natural. I'm going to change my diet. I was severely overweight, which is also a risk factor for it. I was about 150 pounds more than I am now. So that was something that, may have contributed to it. I was in a really stressful relationship. It was very abusive. So I had all these things going on, and I got sick. And I was bedridden for 3 months. And I was trying to do it naturally, but when you wake up and you can't hardly move, and you're 33,
everything hurts.
And
it's hard to find motivation to do anything to help.
Exactly. Yeah. So I tried to do what I could. Weirdly, when I got sick, my partner was actually very supportive at the time. So that was like actually a thing where I felt like my body, looking back, was kind of protecting me from, his other side. So, but 3 months, I couldn't take it anymore, and I went on the medication. So I started on methotrexate, which is like a low-dose chemotherapy.
Okay.
So it is an immunosuppressant, so it calms down the immune system. It has a whole host of side effects, but at that time I was like, I don't care. I just need to get my life back.
Right.
So I did that for about 3 years and had good functionality. And, but then ended up feeling always like, this is toxic. I don't want to be on this. I'm scared of this. And also hadn't dealt with nothing with nervous system regulation. At the time I was using alcohol very heavily. So a lot of things that
you're looking at the one symptom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I met a holistic nutritionist that my friend recommended to me, and a certified herbologist. And I said, great, perfect. Yay. I'm going to heal my body. And I started with him, and he was amazing. And he was, great, but he also had the idea of that this, let's get you off this medication.
Yeah.
So I learned how to eat properly, whole foods, learned how my body wanted to work. I didn't really understand that. I had always dieted my whole life because I wanted to lose weight. I would yo-yo diet back and forth really heavily. And
I think we all have.
Yeah, right? It's especially women, we're, beauty culture, all that. So, and in the 90s, it was not body positive. It was you need to be skinny, and if you're not, then
good luck.
Yeah, good luck. And I grew up overweight. I was always tall. So it's I was tall already. I was the tall, awkward, overweight girl. And that was kind of growing up. So eventually when I found this nutritionist, I had kind of switched from I want to, because at that time I had been considering weight loss surgery, but I would have to go off the RA medicine to have it done. And I wasn't willing to give up my mobility because that was the most important. So I kind of gave up well, fine, I'll just be overweight my whole life. It's fine. I've been this way my whole life. So I've learned how to manage it. And what happened was I ended up wanting to get healthy and heal my body. So that became my main intention instead of how I look or how, what size I want to wear. And sure enough, I ended up losing in that first year over 80 pounds working with him, and then continued, right? And then continued to lose weight to about 150 pounds over, several years, and being able to maintain it because of, learning that, it's really more about my health. It's more about loving myself. It's a different intention than wanting, to measure up to what other people think.
Yeah. And so was the process then you started with the nutritionist, and so that almost, I wonder if that like removed like one of the masks, right? It helped a little bit so then you can start seeing clarity into like the other levels. Like how did you move from the food like internal to then external too? Yeah. We got time.
Right. So I was, slowly doing this. I was learning how to eat. I was learning how to take care of my body. I was learning how to move it. And it started once I started exercising, and I tend to push myself really hard. That's always been my thing. I always go, 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 go. And one thing this RA taught me was how to slow down, and that I don't need to prove anything to anyone, that I just need.
You're not in competition.
Right. Not in competition, that it's okay to rest, that it's okay to, not push more, to really like find what your limit is and then not even get close to it. Because every time I did, I would have an injury, I would hurt myself, I would be out, I wouldn't be able to go to the gym for a week. So
then you start going up and down in the cycle. Yeah.
Exactly. So I learned that, and then I ended up going off the medication and doing pretty well. Still no nervous system work. No, it was just like, cool. Now I found out how, because then it was kind of like, oh, cool. Well, I am like losing weight and this is great. And I feel better about myself.
Yeah.
And, but I still did not have that, like, I still had that feeling of like unworthiness, or like, what's wrong with me, or how come, I'm still struggling in this area of my life, or how come I'm still having relationship problems. Like, it wasn't about the weight.
Right. Right.
Whereas
now that's been removed.
Exactly.
And those issues are still there.
Yep. Yeah. So
I gotta say that, I mean, it takes a lot of courage to take a minute and like really view, to be honest, and like take inventory, right, of what is going on, and to like ask those questions, because it's so easy to just be like, well, this is how it is, this is how I am, it's always me, or this is just what I attract, or whatever, right? But to really take a minute and be like, hold on a second, this is not what I want. And I have to like figure out exactly like what is causing it to get better. But it's like a shift, right? That not everybody has.
Absolutely. And still, I was so early in my journey then, that I still was, not seeing so much. It's so many blind spots. I thought I figured out this, nutrition thing, but I was still having flares. I was still having issues. So I ended up finding a therapist, because I'd been like in and out of therapy over the years, because I would find a therapist and I'm like, I'm going to fix myself. And then after a few sessions, when they really were like, you need to look inward, it was like, no, that's too scary. And I would quit going. So I really committed to that, and was able to, work through a lot of the deep-seated things that I wasn't aware of, relational issues. Ended up getting away from the person that I was in a relationship with, that was not treating me the way I deserved to be treated. So that was all like a long journey, from like 33 to 38.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen all at once, right? It's a process. The more you learn, the more you're aware, and the more you can solve. It's not that.
Right? Well, there's so many layers, right? And we can feel like we heal the layer, like, oh, we're over that, and then something else can come up in life.
You realize you're not over it.
Yeah, and it's a new layer that we weren't ready. Like our nervous system will only let us deal with what we're able to deal with, or what it feels like we're able to deal with, because our nervous system has been developing since before we were, since we're in the womb, and we even get patterns passed down to us from our parents. And before we're able to even realize, who we are, we have this idea of who we are. And then our whole, adult life is kind of spent unlearning what we thought we were, and really, what we want to be.
It really is. And I think I've seen that saying like forever, like it's all about unlearning, and you're like, what? And then you start going through that process, you don't know.
Exactly.
Right. Like I got into the business from working retail, sales, management for 20 years. Right. And so it was like the 9 to 5, not always 9 to 5, but whatever, the 8-hour shift. And it wasn't until I had a situation with my previous employment that like made me think like, okay, I need to make a change. And life events. I had like an injury at the moment, like a back injury at the time that I decided to leave my current employment. And I was like, well, now I really don't have a choice but to do my own thing because I couldn't stand very long. I couldn't sit very long. So like going back into like the 9-to-5 world was just not an option.
Exactly.
And kind of figured it out. And it wasn't, so I kind of built it as I went, but it wasn't until like 2020 where I started to question like, okay, what am I doing? And my first experience with a coach, funny enough, was in 2020. And I had connected with him on business. I was like, okay, I want to do this with my business and it's not going. And he's like, okay, let's pause on that. How's your life? You know, like, how was your childhood and all these things? And I'm like, we're fine. Like, I want to talk about business. Like, this is the current issue. And it wasn't until he was like, I get it. We'll get there. And we like took a pause, like really like dove deep into like multiple things and started realizing like all of the things that I did need to unlearn and like the mindsets that those created and the things that I was like interjecting into my business without realizing, you know, because you're just
all connected. Yeah, it's all connected.
So
and really, I think of it like this lens that we put on. So when we have a lens of like unworthiness or, you know, not loving ourselves or feeling, you know, like we're never good enough, we wear that lens everywhere. It doesn't come off and now we're a business person or now we're in a relationship. It literally colors every single facet of your life.
Yep.
And what's great about that, once you realize it, you can work on that lens and then everything else gets better.
So as you've developed and gone through these or removed some of these lenses, okay, you learned, obviously it's helped remove those obstacles that you've had, right? So your health is better, mentally, life, everything, relationship, sounds like you're in a really good place now too. So, I mean, all of these things have kind of evolved you as a person.
They have. And then new layers that come in and you're like, oh, I didn't know I needed to work on that. Like right now, I'm learning on being vulnerable and asking for what I need, which is something I never realized I didn't do. But I had to unlearn a whole bunch of other things before that felt safe.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like we're never done. You know, it's part of being human. It's the human experience. And really, I want to normalize that perfection is a lie.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that we all attain to, but none of us.
Imperfect.
Exactly. And that is how most of us, or how I would wish for all of us to be perfection, is we're already perfect.
Yeah.
We're already worthy. We were born that way. We're here to learn, and making mistakes is a learning process, and that's the perfection.
Yeah. So all of this is how your coaching business has evolved.
Yes.
So you've kind of gone through the stages, and of course, like when we learn things, we want to, if we're empathetic people, we want to help everyone around us. Right.
Yeah,
so now
absolutely.
it's about kind of sharing what you've been through, what worked for you, and how it might help other people.
Yeah. So like going back to like that, where I really was like, I want to be on the natural path, and you know, I lost all the weight, and I thought the RA would disappear along with some of the other things that disappeared that were weight related, but that didn't happen. And you know, I kind of went through where I would be okay for a while, and then something would happen. I'd have a flare. I'd need to go on steroids, and you know, I thought like, oh, I can manage this. It's okay. And this last year was just the worst. And I ended up getting so many injections and so many things, steroids, just to be able to function like a normal person.
Is it the RA that flared up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so I ended up, you know, after a long time, I just had this awareness, like, do I want like quality of life or do I want quantity of life? Because I don't feel like right now I can have both in the state that I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, I had
and to
done
be
all
so
the
young
work.
and to have that moment, that thought. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had done all the work. You know, I have done everything, tried every protocol, tried every, you know, multiple practitioners, supplements, everything.
Yeah.
But I still was struggling. So I stopped blaming myself, and I went to my doctor, and I, you know, said, what are my options? And while he's great, I felt a little bit dismissed over the process of like different practitioners, which is frustrating, you know, and going in and not knowing what they know, but also knowing my body. And, you know, they don't have this disease. So they see it, but they don't know it.
And they know the textbook definitions.
Yeah, which is still like, they don't know a lot.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
kind of this frustrating spot of like, okay, what are we doing here? And, you know, I don't want to just hand myself over to you to like be on all these medications. Like, what does each one do? What are the risks? What is my specific risk? Because there's risks, but then there's like risks for people in certain risk groups. So yeah, so really had to do all the research for that and realize that, you know, the mortality rate of what I was looking at was higher than the risk that I would take being on medication. So at then that point I said, okay, let me do it. And it was hard. Yeah, it was hard because for a decade I've been telling myself, don't do it. It's toxic. It's this, it's that. So all those patterns that had set in had to be unlearned and undone. And I had to learn to like trust myself and trust what my body needed. Because I was fighting inflammation, but I didn't have energy to do anything else.
And it's hard to rebuild that trust too, with even like with the medical field, because you were originally told certain things in the medication, and then you went the holistic route and you had good results, better than what the medical industry was trying to, you know, convince you to do. And then as it progressed and evolved, then now you almost have to like rely on that system again that you didn't really have trust or faith in to begin with, right? So all of that is difficult.
Yeah, so it's like unlearning, relearning. So I started being different. I started preparing for my appointments. I started writing down things. I started doing charts of like, here's my symptoms. Here's what I've been doing. Here's what works. Here's what doesn't work. Here's the supplements I'm taking. So everything, because when you go into an appointment, you get like what, 10 or 15 minutes, right? If that. And there's so much going on. I would always forget. I have like ADHD. So I'd go in feeling like, oh, I'm going to say this, this, and this, even if I had it in my phone.
And they ask you one question and you're like,
right, exactly. And then I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then I'd be like, wait, I'm not good. And I have so many questions. So I changed my process. And that got me better results. Like I felt like they had more respect for me. They felt like, oh, wow, she's done her homework, even on Google or, you know, ChatGPT. But
you came prepared.
I came prepared. And that made a big difference for the reaction that I got from them as well.
It is interesting how necessary it is now to be your own advocate when you go to the doctors, because I mean, and more research is coming out, right? That like even the benchmarks that they use, the benchmarks aren't exactly benchmarks for everybody. Like every body type is different. Your composition, it affects all of it.
And the fact that women were not even included in studies until the early 2000s.
Right.
And
2000s people.
Right. That's not that long
recent.
ago.
Yeah.
So that means all of the studies were based on men, and autoimmune and RA specifically has a 70% female. It affects women differently and more than male. So you have to look at like, there's, you know, maybe a hormonal component, maybe, you know, a fact that women tend to overfunction and are the carers of their family and care about everyone and kind of forget about themselves.
No days off.
Yeah. So that's where I'm really passionate about, is like teaching women how to be their own best advocate, how to love themselves above everyone else, because that's, you can't give from an empty cup.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite sayings.
Right? Put your mask on before you put the other person's mask on, because if you do give from an empty cup, you're going to end up depleting the other person.
Right? Yeah, and then there's a limit. There's a capacity to what we can all handle. 100%. But the self-advocacy, I think, is so important and not spoken enough about. You know, even a friend of mine had a hysterectomy last week. I was telling you, like, she had some complications. So a week later, she starts developing like fever, severe headaches. I mean, logically, right? It's like the surgery just happened.
Yeah, it's a huge shift for her. For her body.
We took to the emergency room, and you know, after a few hours of tests, blood tests and MRIs, and no, not MRIs yet. I think they did like an X-ray and a CT scan of her surgery space. Everything came back clear on the results of, you know, according to what they were doing. So the doctor was like, "Oh, just go home and treat it with some Tylenol." And we were like, "Whoa, no!" Like, you know, let's figure out what's going on. Like something is causing it. And sure enough, she was in the hospital for 3 days. 3 days, I think. And I mean, they ran all the tests. They still don't know, but they gave her medicine. She has since finally, thankfully,
Oh, God.
recovered. But like, can you imagine if we had just not stood up for ourselves or for her, and like that first day she would have been sent home, she would have been miserable, like doubled over in pain the last 3 days, potentially getting worse. Like we don't know. Because that first doctor was so quick to just kind of dismiss it. But you do have to speak up. You do have to ask for, I mean, they'll tell you yes or no, like this is possible, this is not. But you have to ask, and of course, the more research that you could do ahead of time, the better.
Because doctors, I also try to think of, in their, shoes, that they see so many patients. They're only seeing you for a short time. They're running from one to another. They're not really looking. So
they're seeing it through like that
clinical.
The little blinders, because they're only seeing this particular. They don't have time to ask about your life and everything and how everything is going, all the different layers to it. They only see that particular problem in front of them, and that's their job to fix that problem.
Yeah, exactly. So when you bring up something like, oh, I read this online, or oh, how about this? That might prompt them to say, oh yeah, okay, let's talk about it. Or, they may dismiss it. That happens a lot, but that's okay. And something I'm always advocating for, if you feel like it's a symptom or something that you bring up to your doctor that does get dismissed, asking for them to note it in the chart, because then that will kind of make them stop for a moment and rethink maybe their answer, or give more attention to your actual symptoms. And again, like, women have been dismissed for so long for symptoms, and especially the best example of that now is the perimenopause that's happening. It's always happened, right? But now it's
now
getting
we know
attention,
what it is,
and it's actually being studied, and now there's like experts. And I'm in perimenopause now, and it was something that I didn't even realize was happening, because RA, it mimics the same, like, joint pain, brain fog, but all my symptoms ramped up over this last year. And that was a main contributor that I didn't even realize until a couple months ago. So,
and consider, like we were talking about before, a lot of the research is done on men. So like, obviously the symptoms of RA have never been really researched with a woman going through menopause, because now your hormones are different, like everything is different, so then it affects your symptoms differently. I can totally see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was, my journey this last year was going on a biologic that has a scary black box warning, but gave me back my life, life quality. So,
and you are feeling better now?
I do. I feel great. It's been about a month and a half. I also went on hormonal replacement treatment. So that's helped a lot too, because that was part of the component, which I think was driving more inflammation. So, am I going to have to be on it forever? I don't know. But for now,
it's working.
So,
keep it as much as possible.
Exactly. And, I can relate with what you're saying of having, not being able to go back to the retail or that like scheduled timing, because that was like me, like the last 5 years. I've had very inconsistent work history, because some days I could work and some days I couldn't. And I just kind of kept doing that, and it would kind of be like every 2 weeks it would switch, and it's hard to have a job that would understand that.
As I say, having your own business is easy that way, but it's also not, because it's harder to take a day off.
And there's, for me also, like, I was dealing with fear of being seen, imposter syndrome, rejection sensitivity. So putting yourself out online is kind of very dysregulating for the nervous system, or can be. So then, like last year, I put myself online, and then I would go into a flare, because my nervous system was,
on overdrive.
So I've done a lot of like nervous system work around that. So when I kind of relaunched recently, I didn't have that, which was a nice growth, to be able to see that in myself was encouraging.
And you have different tools that you're using to work through that?
So meditation, I know people hear all the time, and some people are like, I can't meditate, or what does that include? And meditation can really be anything. It's an altered state of consciousness. So however you get there, you can do it through plant medicine, in a trusted source. You can do it through, walking. You can do it through drawing. You can do it through any kind of flow state. is a form of meditation. I love doing like a guided meditation, put my earphones in, lay down, put my mask on, and it takes me to another place. And it's like on YouTube, super easy. You know, just being able to find that quiet 5 or 10 minutes a day to breathe. Breathing is so important. Breathing is really the reset of the nervous system. Anything,
Oxygen.
yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah.
But that slow, like deep belly breath, that's what really helps to put you into that parasympathetic nervous system state, and that's where we want to be for that rest, for our body to heal, to repair itself. So we get that through sleep and through being, you know, in that altered state of consciousness.
Love that. And I love what you said about meditation, because I was one of those people where I was like, I would do like the guided meditations, and I'm like, I just can't visualize. My brain's going off in, of course, all the directions, which now I've learned, obviously, like you kind of like refocus it in. But one of the things that I love most is someone maybe a couple of years ago told me like meditation, kind of like what you just said, was not just like like you sit there. It doesn't have to be that. It could be like moving. I think it's moving meditation. So, or even if you're like washing your hands, like you focus on the process, like how your hands feel, the soap, the bubbles, right? And like you just focus on the moment of what you're doing versus like thinking of the things you got to get done, or the laundry, or the client emails, or whatever. And to really focus. One of my favorite things to this day now is driving.
Yes, that is such a good one.
I love just, I don't even put on music a lot of times. I sit there just silent, and I'm driving, and I'm just paying attention to the trees and the road and the cars, and just like really focusing on that. And the clarity that I feel a lot of times just by doing that, especially with a beautiful view, the Rocky Mountains. I can't get over it here. So,
I know, isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, every time someone needs something, I'm like, I'll go to town. I'll go pick it up.
Oh, I had chills when you were talking about that. So yeah, driving's a great one because it actually engages like the conscious mind and then the unconscious. So it gives your conscious mind something to do, or your unconscious mind something to do, and then you can be more present. That's really what it's regulating the nervous system is about as well, is being present in the moment. You know, we're so disassociated, you know, so distracted when there are
5 million ways.
And so just starting small, because the nervous system, the brain doesn't want to like do change. So you can
you don't want to shock it.
No, you don't. That's one thing I learned is like, you can't do everything at once. You can't change everything at once. And you're better off. Neuroscience has shown that if you just start small, like 5 minutes a day, or doing one thing a day, that is like, that's the thing you do. And then you build off of that, and it becomes easier and easier.
Have you read Atomic Habits by Tim Ferriss?
No, I've heard of it, but no, I haven't read it.
You should definitely check it out. It's because he talks about that, about, you know, incorporating things into your daily routine to like introduce that new habit is what I almost said, and I was like, that's not it. The different habits and stuff, but incorporating it into your like daily practice, you know, so that it's not such a shock, so it's not so disrupting of, you know, your current state.
Because that can be shocking too. And then it's like you're trying to do something good for yourself, but your body's interpreting it as something, another chore, something that you're still not doing right. You know, that was something that I always tried to do. Was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and this, and change everything at once. And then I couldn't do it for more than a couple of weeks. And then I felt like a failure. And then,
listen, that's what like the New Year's resolution situation. That's why like that fails for exactly that reason.
I do not do New Year's resolutions anymore.
And
I feel so much better. And I accomplish so much more.
Right. Just like without putting it in like that, we have to change everything right now on this date.
And that's such a bad time too. It's like right in the middle of winter, and winter is really a time for like hibernation, for going within, for like just kind of figuring out in your body, processing all the things that have happened throughout the year. And then spring comes, and that's the time to make changes and come out of exactly. So I feel like that was kind of like, I was set up for failure there.
On purpose. I blame the gyms.
Right?
They're the ones that I think profit most from the resolutions like that.
Absolutely.
But it is definitely something to, you know, to keep in mind, to introduce those changes.
Slow.
And
you're going to feel like you're not doing enough. But that's okay. Because when in your life have you ever felt like this is exactly what I should be doing, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's part of the process too, is retraining your mind to not have those feelings or thoughts or of like, I'm not doing enough, or oh, I should be doing more. Like, I say the word should, need to take out of the vocabulary. Because it's a shaming, it has a lot of shame attached to it.
Yeah.
So,
to be reminded of that every once in a while. But
yeah, I'm rephrasing it like, I get to, I'm blessed to, I love this. And that's, again, like, you're talking to yourself, because I've just seen so many people, we're the first ones to talk bad about ourselves, yet we talk to everyone else so nicely, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk to other people. Let's give ourselves the grace that we give other people, and give it to ourselves first. Because again, you can't give from an empty cup, and people don't realize their cups are very low.
Yeah.
And it's not your fault.
Yeah, I struggled a lot with that when I first went into business. So again, this is my 8th year now. And I say that the first couple of years were, I would answer client texts like 2 o'clock in the morning, and, all day long, like just being at the ready and available for clients. And I felt that, that I should always be on their schedule and like what they needed, right? Because they were the ones like paying me. And the amount of times that I would run myself into the ground, like just from doing too much and like not taking the time. And then it was like this guilt of, okay, I do need to take care of myself too. But then I'm like, oh, I can't take care of myself. I should be doing projects A, B, and C. Like they're all waiting for stuff, right? So, but then the break for myself like never came, because there was always, I'm in business, more, right? Like obviously if I didn't have projects, then that wouldn't be good business. So like the list never ended. Yeah. And myself, like I never put myself on anywhere in the list, and I had to go through quite a few, personal review, like just an internal like check on myself, and a lot of workshops that I've done with like different coaches out in Florida. Joanne Garraway, she's amazing. If she's watching, I've done a couple for hers, but it's really made me like internally like see, okay, like you are not helping anyone by running on fumes, right? And you do deserve to take a break and reset yourself, because then you're better to help whoever you need to help like after that. But you do need to find that time to center. And I have to remind myself of that constantly, because you can know it, but it doesn't mean that it's, naturally a habit at the moment.
Exactly. And that's really the difference of knowing versus like embodying and integrating. So that's really what I teach too, is like, it's one thing to know, it's another thing to live it. And that's the hard part, is just like relearning how to live it, because we have our brains are so fast, they're so smart, they're so like set in their ways. And so it's really having to like, one, be aware of what we're doing, and then being able to say, oh, I'm doing that. And that's when you're there, that's good. It's like, oh, I'm doing
You recognize it.
Yeah, it's not about, because I used to think like, oh, I need to stop doing it, and that's it. And that's not how it works. It's a slow process. It's recognizing what you need to change or what you want to change, and then recognizing each time that you still do it. And then one day you're just like, I haven't done that in so long. And you forget, because it becomes, that's like the integration.
Yeah. And I've also learned that it's important sometimes to speak it out loud.
Oh, absolutely.
When you, especially in the beginning, I think it makes it that much easier to like take a second and be like, okay, this is what's happening. This is how we're reacting. This is, whatever we're thinking or seeing and stuff. It's beautiful.
And also being in touch with your body, because I'm a person who intellectualizes everything, and I can say, oh, I do this because this and this and blah, 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 blah. But then bringing it into the body, like, where do I feel that? Where is that happening? Like, is it in my stomach? Is it in my chest? Because that's part of the unlearning, reconditioning, reprogramming, is bringing the body into it, because that's where everything happens. We feel like everything happens in our mind, but really the mind is just like our conscious awareness of it. It first happens in the body. So when we can catch it in the body, and we can soothe ourselves through some type of, even just like a little butterfly hug, or like anything to get your body out of fight or flight
Mm.
and reassure it that it's safe in this moment is going to help repatterning really more quickly.
Yeah. So is that part of the practice that you also do in your
Mhm.
coaching? So you help
Yeah, I
people back?
bring a lot of somatic, because for me that's what I needed, and that's what I learned through like plant medicine, being in the body. And it's okay, a lot of people disassociate because they don't feel safe in their body, and for a long time I didn't feel safe in my body. I felt like it was betraying me. I felt like it was going to break down every second. I had like OCD tendencies of like, oh my god, growing up I was like a super hypochondriac. I thought everything was wrong with me. So it was when I finally got sick, I was like, okay, now actually something is wrong with me.
Right.
But yeah, that's really important, to move energy out of the body, through breath work, through journaling, through creation, through, whatever we have fun doing is going to make it easier, and that we're going to turn, it's easier to remember to do it when you enjoy it. And it's going to help move things along. I don't want to say quicker, but it's going to help you in that integration process more quickly.
Do you mostly work with women, or do you work with men as well?
Yeah, I've definitely worked. I've had clients of all kinds. Right now, I'm focusing on women just because I feel like it's, with the hormonal perimenopause, kind of that midlife burnout is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really where my focus is right now, on my ladies.
Nice. Do you have like an age range of like who you like to work with? I mean, we're thinking.
Yeah, from like that, like 40.
Yeah.
And up. Yeah. Kind of that, like, your family is growing, you're having more time to, I mean, really anyone who's like having more time to spend on themselves, or they've had a diagnosis and now they're forced to, because that happens a lot.
Sometimes the universe says, hey, take a break.
Yeah. And the way that we look at that, they say like life is 2% what happens to you and 98% how you respond to it. But I find that really true, because we can look at things like, this is the best thing that ever happened to me, or this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. And the results that we get, like the timeline that we walk from that point of that, how we're feeling, or that filter, however you want to say it, is really going to determine what our life looks like.
Yeah.
So if you're waking up thinking this is the worst thing, I'm in so much pain, this and that, all those things, your body is going to say, okay, because it doesn't know. So it's going to keep manifesting that for you. And if you're thinking, and not to say you can't have, bad thoughts or, negative thoughts. I mean, yes, we all do. That's human. So that's one thing that I really struggled with before, was magical thinking, which was that like, everything's gonna be fine, that I don't have to actually do anything, everything's gonna be fine, and I'm okay, when really I wasn't. So I want to be cautious about that, but really the mindset that we have has a huge, I mean, even science says that people with a positive mindset live longer, are healthier. If they get sick, they are able to move through it easier, faster, more recovery.
So much research out there that shows that it makes a huge impact.
Yeah. And I love now how everyone is on, I see at least my feed, I don't know about everybody else's, but it's like all neuroscience, it's all, positive thinking. It's all really like feeling your feelings, but then being able to like move past them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot more information out there. And I feel like the world has been more open to receiving it, especially since COVID.
Yeah.
I feel like COVID made a lot of people force people to sit still and evaluate their lives and where it was. And I feel like since then there's been a big trajectory in like the growth of like the personal development, like really self-awareness and all of that, like learning about yourself and how it all works.
Yeah, I know. I love, and I've been like a personal development since I was a kid. I would go to like the Barnes and Noble and I would look at all the personal development as a teenager, and I was like reading all this stuff, but I still had that from that perspective of like, something's wrong with me, I need to fix it. Whereas now it's like, nothing is wrong with me. I am perfect and worthy and whole exactly how I am, because I'm divinely created, and that's, where I live from. But there's still things that I want to learn. There's still things I want to improve. There's still goals and aspirations that I have. And, doing that from a more like, this is what I get to do because I'm here on earth and I want to get as much done as I can in this lifetime. And
as much impact as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I love connecting with people.
Yeah. And so what is the process if someone wants to work with you? Like how do you work with them?
Yeah, so I actually I have a chronic illness middle path starter kit that is free on my link in bio. So if you go to my Instagram, you can find it there. And it's like a manifesto, kind of like, what I was saying, like I am worthy, and kind of affirmations that people can feel weird at first doing, but I promise if you do it for like a week in the mirror, you're going to start feeling
look at yourself in the eyes when you do it.
That accelerates it as well. There's science to it, so just do it. I know it feels weird, but you can make fun of yourself, but but that helps getting like in the right mindset. And then a symptom tracker and a body decoder, and then some scripts so you can prepare like to go to a provider, and then some scripts to help empower you like while you're sitting in front of them, and you can be able to use this, right away. So that's something that's free to download on my link tree. And then I also have a free 30-minute session on special right now for $99. So if you need more help, with that, and help, an advocate to kind of walk you through that, I'm happy to do that. And yeah, just reach out to me. I love working with people. I have a free group that you can join on Facebook. So, and I'm doing education stuff, more videos I'm putting out. I'm starting a new series, Chronic Illness and. So, chronic illness and relationships, chronic illness and sex, chronic illness and work, chronic illness and yourself. So, it kind of goes, and because unfortunately so many people are now finding themselves with autoimmune or other types of issues, and burnout and perimenopause and all the things,
everything all at once,
that it really affects every area of your life. And it's okay. It's before I got sick, like I had this time of like before I got sick and after, and I was like always trying to get back to where I was before, and not realizing that who I became in the process was someone who, loved herself, and really like, I'm like my biggest cheerleader now. So, and I wasn't that before. So it's like, I wouldn't ever want to go back to that person, but the process was hard and long. So I just want to be there for other people.
Yeah.
Experiencing the same thing or something similar.
I love that. If you guys haven't noticed, also her Instagram tag has been going across the bottom of the screen the whole time.
Yeah, come check out my funny videos, because I'm starting to do like, I don't know, I'm kind of like I try to like use humor in everything. Good. So I like
it's authentic. Yeah. It's genuine.
Yeah. So I just, my journey and my process, and now I've learned to like laugh and not take myself so seriously, and not take life itself seriously, right? Because we're here to have fun.
We are.
Yeah.
And I think if nothing else, like social media, especially in the last couple of years, have shown that like the right people will come to you.
Right.
Right. Like you can go online right this moment and see all sorts of content creators of all range of personalities and style and whatever. Right. And people we're all very tribal beings. Right. So we all kind of resonate with people that we find familiar. Right. Like that matches like us.
That align with our energy, right? And people that are working on the same things as us. And that's why I feel like it's so, finding people that you trust and that you can be vulnerable with, because so many times in my life that my friends that I'm close with at that time are going through like the exact same thing I'm going through, but in just kind of a different version of it. So that's really, we're all going through something. We're all, trying to do the best that we can. Like, and my belief, most people are good people. We're trying to get through life, and if we can find our tribe, to whether it's temporary, a season, a reason, or a lifetime, definitely embrace that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And we are community people. So like the more you find your community, the easier it is.
Absolutely.
There's an interview I saw probably like 2 years ago now. It was with Will Smith and Trevor Noah. And Will Smith, like back in the day, he was like one of the top actors, but we never saw him in the newspapers, the tabloids, like nothing. You like didn't see anything of him except for when he came out like for the premiere, and then you were like, oh my gosh, in the movie. But he was saying that even he had seen on his side like the change in people, that like now, or at that time, like people went to the movies, like if they felt connected. Like, so they wanted to know what he was up to. They wanted to know who he was talking to, or like what events he was doing, or whatever. Like they wanted to know about him and feel like they were part of it to show up. It was no longer about just the mystery guy that, you know, popped up like once in a blue just to have like that whole thing. It's about being connected. I try to tell a lot to people at the marketing and stuff that we do now that, you know, relationship driven business is one of the most special type of business, right? Like when you really build that community, you build that loyalty with people that, you know, are aligned with you and they convince you, like there is enough business in the world for everybody. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And you will work better with the people that you best align with. So there's no reason to like force that.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not going to be for everybody, and it's okay. I actually have that written on my website. I'm like, if you don't like talking about yourself, who you are, what you do, what you love, like we're probably not going to be a good fit, and that is perfectly fine. You know, you will be happier with someone that works like you, and you know, I'm happier with people that enjoy connecting and having that community and that empathy with each other. It's just, it makes life better.
It does, you know, absolutely.
It really does. All right. So as we wrap up here, again, guys, if you have any questions watching this back, any questions put it in the comments. We'll both monitor, answer any comments you have, or connect with her on Instagram. Before we end here, do you have any final words of wisdom that you would like to share with the audience?
I don't know, just whatever you're going through, you're not alone. You know, whatever you're going through, there's a group, there's, you know, a coach, there's a local community, somebody who's going through what you're going through. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to just make yourself vulnerable. I know it feels uncomfortable, but that's part of the process of going through that, is something that your soul is calling for.
Beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
So yeah, reach out.
Thank you so much. This is so great, Julie.
I'm so glad you joined me today. And thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
And I hope you all have a fabulous weekend, and we will see you next week.